Logic. Basic logic and arguments. What is logic? Logic may be defined as the science of reasoning. Logic is a non-empirical science like mathematics. Empirical disciplines could probably tell us the exact process that goes on in a being's head when he or she or it is reasoning. But they could not, however, tell us whether the being is reasoning correctly or incorrectly. Logic is not concerned with the actual mental or physical process employed by a thinking entity when it is reasoning. The investigation of the actual reasoning process falls more appropriately within the province of psychology, neuropsychology, etc. Inferences and arguments. Reasoning is a special mental activity called inferring. What can also be called making or performing inferences. To infer is to draw conclusions from premises. In place of the word premises, you can put the word data, information, or facts. Therefore, to infer is to draw conclusions from data, information, or facts. Examples of inferences. 1. You see smoke and infer that there is a fire. 2. You count 19 persons in a group that originally had 20, and you infer that someone is missing. Basis of inferences. Inferences are made on the basis of various sorts of things: data, facts, information, states of affairs. Logic, correspondingly, treats inferences in terms of collections of statements, which are called arguments. In order to simplify the investigation of reasoning, logic treats all these things in terms of a single sort of thing: statements. An argument is a collection of statements, one of which is designated as the conclusion, and the remainder of which are designated as the premises. Usually, the premises of an argument are intended to support, or justify the conclusion of the argument. The word statement is intended to mean declarative sentence. A statement is a declarative sentence, which is to say, a sentence that is capable of being true or false. The following are examples of statements. It is raining. I am hungry. 2 plus 2 equals 4. God exists. Examples of sentences that are not statements, like the question, are you thirsty? Or open the door, please. Inferences as arguments. In the case of the smoke-fire inference, the corresponding argument is given as follows. A1. There is smoke. Premise. There is smoke is the premise. Therefore, there is fire. That is the conclusion. The missing person inference. The corresponding argument is given as follows. A2. There were 20 persons originally. This is the premise. This is the first premise. The second premise is there are 19 persons currently. And the conclusion is therefore someone is missing. Deductive logic versus inductive logic. Let's go back to the two arguments from the previous section. A1. Premise. First premise. There is smoke. The conclusion, and its following conclusion, therefore, there is fire. Now, it's possible that there is no fire. It could be a smoke machine. We know that the existence of smoke does not guarantee, ensure the existence of fire. It only makes the existence of fire more likely or probable. A2. There were 20 people originally. There are 19 persons currently. Therefore, someone is missing. There is more certainty in deductive reasoning because we are reasoning from definitions. Many math problems are great examples of deduction. Example of a deductive argument. Another thing to remember with deductive arguments is the meaning of the sentence, or the meaning is the predicate concept is contained in the subject concept. So, in the example of a deductive argument, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. If we look at the Venn diagram, we can see that the fact that Socrates is a man is already contained in the concept of man, which is contained in the concept of things that are mortal. Abduction. Abductive reasoning starts with an observation. Then it seeks to find the simplest and most likely explanation. This is what Sherlock Holmes did. Example: 1. Hunter hates philosophy class. 2. Hunter hasn't been to philosophy class. 3. Hunter is still in sociology class, which comes after philosophy class. Conclusion: Hunter dropped philosophy class. Now, Hunter may not have dropped philosophy. Maybe Hunter just stopped going. Maybe Hunter disappears into another dimension during that time. We don't know. But what we do know is that Hunter hasn't dropped out of school. Hunter hasn't been seen in philosophy, and Hunter hates philosophy. So, most likely Hunter dropped philosophy. Distinction between form and content. There is likewise a distinction in logic between arguments that are good in form and arguments that are good in content. This distinction is best understood by the way in which, this distinction is best understood by way of an example or two. A1. All cats are dogs. All dogs are reptiles. Therefore, all cats are reptiles. A1 is valid formally. The structure works, but the content is wrong. As we've already stated, if we go back to the first premise, when we argue that all cats are dogs, we are defining all cats as dogs. And then in the next sentence, we're defining all dogs as reptiles, so we're including dogs in the category of reptiles. And if cats are dogs and dogs are reptiles, then cats are reptiles. Formally, this works. It works structurally, but as we know, it's wrong factually. A2. All cats are vertebrates. All mammals are vertebrates. Therefore, all cats are mammals. A2 is only correct or valid as far as its content, but structurally, this argument is very poor. If you want to, you can draw a Venn diagram to illustrate the problem. Factual, valid, and sound. An argument is factually correct if and only if its premises are true. An argument is valid if and only if its conclusion follows from its premises. An argument is sound if and only if it is both factually correct and valid. Thank you. Logic. Basic logic in arguments. What is logic?